Hello and welcome to Chez Zasaa, and today we have a Zasaa Zooms In. I've got a guest that you haven't yet met, so I'm going to get her to introduce herself. It's my friend Shola. Shola, tell us three things about yourself. Anything about yourself.
Okay, my name is Shola.
No, you can't tell us that because I've already said that. What else?
Okay, I'm a mother of three.
Yeah.
Jesus' daughter.
Okay.
Loving and caring person.
That's like four things you told us, but okay.
Oh, is
Mother
it four?
Let me see if I agree with you. Mother of three, yes. Jesus' daughter, yes.
Uh-huh.
Loving and caring, yes. Okay, you didn't lie.
Great.
Well, welcome to Zasaa Zooms In. This is your
for
first time. We've been
having me.
trying to do this for forever.
I know.
And finally, we've made it.
Thank
So,
God for that.
Today, I think what we're going to talk about is something that you're going to do the talking, to be fair. I'll ask you questions, but I can't talk about it because it's not my experience.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk to you about being a young mother. So you said earlier that you have three children, three daughters.
Yeah.
How old were you when you had the first one?
I was 19 when I
Oh,
had
you were
my
19.
first
I even
daughter.
thought you were 18. So you're 19.
No, I was 19. Yeah.
Okay.
Too young.
Young. Was it planned?
No, it wasn't.
So how did you, just from because I know that, we come from a Nigerian background, and I know that a lot of the time our parents have expectations of us. Like, you go to school, you go to university, you get married, you have children. There's a sequence that they expect us to follow, which you clearly didn't.
Right.
So what happened? How did you, just tell me a little bit about that?
Okay. My parents were so disappointed.
Oh, wow.
My dad was so disappointed. In fact, my parents didn't speak to me for 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So my father disowned me. That was what he said. He said, "You're disowned."
Wow.
So yeah, my siblings got in touch. My daddy didn't.
So did you reach out and tell, how did they find out? Did you call
How
them
did they
and
find
tell
out? So I couldn't tell them.
So how
So
did they
actually,
find
so
out?
this was it. I was meant to go
wow.
back to Nigeria. I came on holiday. I stayed with my auntie, and I was meant to go back to Nigeria. And I found out I was pregnant. I was like, "Oh my God, definitely I can't go back. They're gonna kill me. This is my head gonna be off." So I think I told my friend. So my parents kept on calling me, and at that point I couldn't pick up their call, which is very unlike me. And they were like, "Shola is meant to come back. She's meant to go to uni. I got admission into UI to study law." So I had to say to my friend that I can't. So so my friend then told my sister. I still couldn't speak to my parents. I'm not sure I spoke to them for almost a year.
So when you say they didn't speak to you for 3 years, you didn't speak to them?
No.
at all?
So I didn't speak to them at first because I couldn't face it. So at the time when they were
So
now
how did
calling
they find
me,
out?
so I told my friend. So
So
my
your
friend
friend
told
told
my
her.
sister,
Okay.
my senior sister, which is our firstborn, I think. Then she now broke the news to my parents. So of course, my father didn't even bother. Of course, time went by, pregnancy grew. My mother felt like, you know what, this child is alive. I can't disown her. So I think at that point, my mom realized that she had to be there. So I think my mom reached out a few times. So I had the baby. Her dad was there for me. His mom was
As
there.
in the dad, okay, the father of the child.
The father of the child, he supported me. So we were, I think that gave me a little bit of comfort, to be honest. So my family did not. And then his cousins were here. They kind of supported us. I think they realized that, you know what, it has happened. What are we going to do?
But okay, can I ask you a question? Did you at any point in time think about aborting?
I think, yes, I did.
Okay.
But because this country, at that time, I came on holiday, so I couldn't see the
you
GP.
weren't like,
So I didn't even, at that point, I felt like I didn't even know what to do.
Yeah.
So I was confused. I didn't know what to do. So the pregnancy was growing, and I still did not know what to do. So I think knowing what to do is.
I think it's also a case because it was unexpected and that kind of denial for a bit, and then with this type of situations, you can't deny for too long.
And the UK is not somewhere where you can just. I'm not sure you could have done anything just like that, especially if you didn't have your papers to. So I think that also added to my confusion. I just thought, you know what has happened has happened. Face it.
Well, you got a lovely daughter out of that, so well, lovely. No, she's lovely. She is lovely. But okay, so you're 19 and you have a child. You're in a foreign country, 19. Okay, you're with the father of the child, so it's not like you're totally alone.
Yeah.
But how did that? I think sometimes what tends to happen when people get pregnant early, certainly at the time when you did, maybe not so much now, they're kind of written off, and nobody expects them to be anything after that because they, so all they are is a mother.
Yeah.
If not that is a good enough thing, but you know what I mean, like because you're so young, it's almost like what else? Did you at the point where did you think that's it? That
No, I actually didn't think that was no.
You did.
I didn't.
How do? So I mean, I know you, so I know how your mind, how strong you are mentally.
Yeah.
But how did you then actually like deal with, what was your plan when you had the child? Obviously, you knew you had to have the child and you had to take care of the child. But did you think then, I'll go to university later, or I'm not going to? How did you?
So I knew that immediately after the child, Shola, you needed to go to uni, and my father said it plain like that. Until you finish uni, literally,
You're not my child.
I'm not your exactly. So I didn't speak to my dad for 4 years, or my dad didn't speak to me for 4 years until when I finished uni, then my father spoke to me. But even after having the child, I knew that, Shola, this is it, and you need to make something out of yourself. You need to get a good job. So it was like a reality of, oh my God, no more parents. So who's going to support you? You're not that child where you can go to mom and dad anymore. So it was more like a reality.
Like a
wake up call for me. Yeah.
So okay, did you get married?
So we got married 4 years after.
After
she was born.
Okay.
After I'd finished uni, then I went back home
Okay.
to visit my parents, and then we were like, okay, now we can talk. And then, okay, where's father? Okay, we can get married. So things then happened normally.
Okay.
But before then, no.
Okay, so how hard was it, or was it not hard?
It was very hard.
Okay. Why? Is that just
So,
because of the lack of support from your family, or was it just? I know that parenting is hard, so I'm not. Why was it hard? Was it any harder than when you had your second one, for example?
yes, it was.
Why?
So it wasn't because of lack of support from my family. First of all, you're 19-year-old where your friends are still out there going blah blah blah, doing lots of things, and suddenly you're a mom, you're not at home. You can't do a lot of things that your friends were doing. So first of all, I was cut out of circle.
Yeah.
Like I literally was not doing anything other than go to school and try and go to work. Then I didn't have family support, so it was just myself and a dad.
Yeah.
Then, we had a cousin, my husband's cousin, to support us when we needed, somebody to look after the baby. But it was really hard. Looking after a child, you're also a child, and then you're looking after a child.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you did not have your family, I think it was also emotionally draining.
And also, you were in a completely different.
And I was
so
it was really hard. But I was determined, and then I got used to it. And then it was just myself, my daughter, and a dad, and that was all I knew. That was my life.
Yeah.
It was just the three of us, and that was it for years.
And that's when I met you.
And that was when
it was just the three of you.
There was just, and so all I knew then was just the three of us.
Yeah.
And then I loved my life. I loved my daughter. I loved looking after her. It just became what I knew. So it was just go to work, go to school, come home, Dammy, a dad, and life was interesting.
So what do you think? In terms of looking back now in retrospect, do you think, because I look at you guys now, and obviously you have 3 daughters, and it's like your sisters, because you're so close in age, effectively. I know it's 18 years, 19 years, but you're still very close in age. So do you think that that's a positive or a negative? Because I feel like,
it's a hard one.
Why?
So I can say it can be a positive, and I sometimes feel like it can be a negative.
Okay.
So sometimes my daughters feel like we're age mates, and I have to kind of
disrespect you.
Sometimes I feel so, and sometimes I have to literally say, "I am your mother. Don't dare." So I just feel like we are literally like friends, and they kind of forget it. And I have to constantly tell them. I know I'm not a soft cookie with my kids.
No, you're not.
Exactly, but even though I'm not a soft, I feel like they sometimes still forget.
But this is an interesting one, right? So I'm going to kind of go off topic a bit because I feel like at some point in our lives as parents, we should become friends with our children. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like the African thing is that no, you can't. And because I feel like even in friendship, there's respect. There should be respect. Do you understand
Yes,
what I mean?
of
So
course.
the relationship changes, of course. You know, at some point, they are the ones going to be mothering us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The relationship changes. So I feel like first we look after them, then we become friends, then they look after us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think sometimes we miss that opportunity to be friends with our kids because we're too busy trying to
No, I'm friends with my
hold
kids.
the motherhood, the you must respect, you must, you know. I mean, I know you're not quite that bad, but I know there's a lot of people that.
I mean, I can be. I know I can be tough, which I'm like, you know. No, my daughters are like, oh my god, my mom. She's like hot and cold, so I can be very soft, and then when I flip, you won't even think that I'm the one that, you know. So I'm their friend. That there's no doubt about that. But is that a positive? Yes, because we're close, we're friends, and they're my kids. But I'm not that African mom where, you know, you can't speak to your mom or you can't bring friends home. You know, my daughters do all that.
Yeah.
And of course, I feel like what I went through with my parents, I wasn't close with my parents like that.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
it's also
want to,
it's different.
you know, that's how we were brought up, where you hide a lot of things. And sometimes I think that's probably one of the reasons why what happened, because you're not able to tell your parents things. You're sneaking to go out, you're sneaking to do this. So the fear of, so I think that was what really happened. Yeah. With my kids, they tell me everything.
No, so I think you make a very valid point there, because I think I didn't grow up with Nigerian parents, so I don't have that experience. But I know that a lot of my friends weren't close to their parents, couldn't tell their parents things like that. I know friends that went and had abortions because they could not say to their parents that they were pregnant, because that would have been the absolute end of it. So, you know, I think that there's something to be said about, and one of the things I've always said is that I don't care if my child murders somebody, I want them to be able to come and tell me that they murdered the person. Not because I'm going to...
Yeah, you might have a reaction, but...
Yeah, but so because let them feel free enough to be able to talk to me about anything, no matter how shocking. I've learned to keep a straight face in every situation. No matter what comes my way, I don't make it seem like it's, you know what I mean? Because I don't want them to not want to come back again. And I think it's so key, because you're right. When something like that happens, which for a 19-year-old must have been huge. You know what I mean? And especially a 19-year-old coming from your background where you knew that this was just not even allowed. You know what I mean? So it's like a complete change of things. So I think that's a very key point, that in terms of the relationship. So this is not even talking about friendship with your children, but having a relationship that is open enough for them to feel that they won't be judged, that they won't be you know, yes, you might be disappointed.
I mean, my kids tell me that I'm dramatic, or
you are dramatic.
And I feel like sometimes my kids might feel like, what would mom say? But I feel that even though they know that their mom can be dramatic, but I know that they know that they can come to me still. That even the mom can scream.
But you know, the thing about your kids as well is, I think you've got them to a point where they know that if they can't come to you, they can come to me and I can come to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they've got a you know, and I think that's the same thing with my kids, where if they don't want to say something, they have one auntie somewhere
where they know that, you know,
to say something,
and their mom will not judge them.
Yes.
You know,
so I think that's very,
and it's intentional, because I want them to be able to tell me everything. Even if they can't do it directly, but know that even when mom hears, she's still gonna be fine.
So what would you say if you could say something to your 19-year-old self now? I mean, I presume, okay, before I come to that, let me ask this. Did you have this conversation? Because obviously all of your kids are now past, well, apart from past the age that you were when you became a mother, and they are not mothers yet, thankfully. But did you say anything to them? Did you, like, how were you with them in terms of knowing that you got pregnant at 19? Did you do anything differently? Were you a bit...
I think not directly. Not that I sat them down to say, don't do this, don't do that. But I just think the way I've brought them up, I don't know what it is, but I don't know what it is.
Well, they all know that you are 19.
I think I tell them that, look, so I would, when I have a conversation with them, I will rephrase and say things like, you know what I went through, and I had you early. You know what so they know that, and they saw me bring them up, and they saw how mom has been. So they know that I don't want to go through this route, because even though your mom is who she is now, doesn't mean that it's been easy. So they see, and I'm like, you know, you want to do this right, you don't want to go through what I've been through. So I keep saying that. So I think the fact that I keep saying you don't want to go through what I went through when I was young, I think it says a lot.
So back to the question about what would you say if you could say something to your 19-year-old self that you've just found out you're pregnant, right? So you're 19. So to that person that's just found out they're pregnant and doesn't know what to do, now as your 40-something-year-old person, what would you say to her? Is there anything you would say to her?
So 19-year-old that.
So when you found out you're pregnant, that week you found out you're pregnant, what would you now say to that person?
What I would say to that person is, first of all, regardless of what has happened to you, I would say, you need to know that that's not the end of life. And you then need to say to yourself, okay, this has happened. What am I going to make out of this? What am I going to become? Because that is very important. And like you did say earlier, that some people will say, oh, because she's had a baby, that's the end of it. In fact, that's the beginning of it. And you need to be able to prove to yourself and prove to the world that regardless of what you go through, what has happened, you are still somebody. I mean, look at me today. I mean, I don't think I'm any different from any of my friends that had their kids 10, 20 years after. I still can stand, I still can speak. So we're still doing the same thing. That's because I did say to myself, I didn't give up on myself.
Yeah.
So I think
don't give up on yourself.
Don't give up on yourself. So which is something you need to hold on to. Do not give, because if you need to give up on yourself, you will just be living for the child and you feel like you can't go back to school. You can't. What people say that, when you have kids early, you can't become something. No. In fact, you will say to yourself, that is the beginning of my own reality and my own life. And I think that's what has helped me. And I think that is what helps me in every situation, to be honest.
It's funny because I remember when you went back to university and I just used to look at you and think, wow, she's actually in university, she has a kid, she's and it was, thinking about it now, many people have, but I think it's because you were also so young, a lot of people go back to university like adult education, so when
I went back
but you went back properly into, what I mean? So I remember really being quite impressed by that. This chick knows what she wants.
I think for me, I think every disappointment, everything that happens in your life that might look like a negative, for me, I think it helps me to say, you know what? No. This I will this will not hold me down. And it's just, again, with what I'm going through now, like, it's a challenge to say, you know what? In everything that you go through, there must be something. So when I look at my daughters today, look, I'm so happy. I'm proud to be a mother of those 3 beautiful daughters. Did I have them early? Yes. Have they turned out to be great? Fantastic. Have I turned out to be super? Yes. So don't give up on yourself is what I would say to anyone. Never give up. Never give up on yourself. Let it be your strength. In fact, that weakness should give you strength.
Okay, so as you're preaching to us, I love what you're saying. Where did you get? You see, you're saying this, right? And I fully agree with you. But I know that there's a lot of people that don't have that. Where did you get that determination or that thing from? Is it something you've always had, or did you? I always say that your trials make you stronger and make you who you are, and you've had many trials. So at this stage, yes, but even at that stage, you knew not to give up on yourself. Even though I'm saying to you, tell your 19-year-old, but it was clear that you knew not to give up on yourself then. So where is that from your mom?
So it's funny. In fact, this question is actually very funny because I think I've come to realize that if you know me, I'm not a people's person. I'm a very alone kind. I think it's just from myself. Because at that time, I didn't even nobody was speaking to me.
Yeah.
But then, I think you just see life and you just feel like, it can't end like this.
Yeah.
And then you look at the child, how beautiful your child is. You have to feed this child. So I think your reality kind of speaks to you itself. And I think my reality, and I think it's something I've come to even realize now, that my reality always gives me strength. Yes, I have my days where, I might cry for 20 days, cry for the month. But I think after that, it gives me, I think it just gives, so my own reality always gives me strength because I'm like, I look left, I look right. Do you have anybody? No. What do? You just have to find strength.
You have to fight for yourself.
Yeah, so I think I've always been like that. I don't know if, clearly that's how God has made me.
Yeah.
But I find strength within myself to pick up myself and to keep going.
I love that. I think that's actually really beautiful because I think it's so important to, you know that I'm always saying this thing, people have to believe in, I think a lot of people depend on other people, and we need other people. Let's not pretend we don't need other people. But I think there's also that element of trusting yourself.
But you have to know yourself. And I don't think everyone is made to be, you have to know yourself.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like what I've been through not everybody might be able to go through the same thing, okay,
Yeah.
and still be the way I am.
Yeah. 100%. But I think that's also back down to that thing where they say God will not give you more than you can handle.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. He knows that you can handle,
which is true,
and so you can. But not everybody can handle it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we went from teenage mom to strength and whatever, not giving up on yourself. I think what I really want to take away from this thing is the fact that regardless of what you go through, you can be better. You can change the situation. You can, you know, you just have to believe in yourself and fight for I think that is even that fighting for yourself, because I think sometimes people don't fight for themselves. They just think, well, this is my lot.
No.
So it's like, don't settle for less than.
Give up.
Yeah, don't give up. Don't, Fantastic. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much, Shola. I hope you enjoyed your time on Zasaa Zooms In.
Even though
you're going to come back.
Long to do this.
You're going to come back. We're going to talk about, you mentioned here what I'm going through.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about what you're going through so that we can, I think it's just important to talk about it. So we'll do that next time. But thank you very much.
Thanks
so
for having
guys,
me.
never give up on yourself.
Don't
forget that you are equally important as everybody else. So do actually believe in yourself and fight for yourself. And I don't mean physical fighting, I just mean fight for yourself. So until next time, we have a YouTube channel. Please follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Chez Zasaa. We have other videos on there that are not on here, but do follow us and engage with us on social media. And until next time, rock your own gorgeous. Yes, I think that any conflict that I've had over the years with my husband, I probably would have had the beginning part of the conflict, but I probably would have brought God into issues. Any issues. Any issues. I mean, I'm like, okay, God, this is what you want.
Because everybody, and marriage is not for the faint of heart. Think about what happens here. You come from this family. He comes from that family. And never did the two meet until the two of you met.
Yeah. Perpetrator, is that the word? The
Yes.
person, the abuser. Like the abuser, what is it? So sometimes I know it's mental health. We know that clearly.
Right.
Do you think that everyone is mental health? Some people are just evil.
Some people have not even been taught how to be in a marriage. They haven't seen it.
Yeah.
They have no clue.
So there are restrictions in that sense. Because I know that everything I do now reflects on him. I restrict myself.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily
necessarily a different side of him that I never knew.
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't think I would be friends.
Just
We always
thinking
look at
that-
potential.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it's like,
But isn't that the nurturer in us?
absolutely,
But this is
it's
what
like,
I can bring
he
out.
has potential. Okay, I mean, is this a husband or is this like a tennis player that you're trying to,
But I think sometimes we forget that we have that privilege of having that relationship with God.
Yes.
We forget. We just do it on our own might and our own knowledge and our own wisdom.
As in, like, what happened was she decided she was going to be herself. And he's like, this is not the person I'm married.
This is
Yeah,
exactly
who are you?
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm not afraid of them.
And we,
And
right, I agree.
I now might still have a problem.
Know who you are, so you can be who you are. Because in the end, you can just become whoever anybody is telling you to
Your
be.
purpose very rarely is just for you.
Oh, it isn't for you. I don't even think it's for you. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to benefit
Yeah.
about it. The commandment to man is love your wife as you love yourself. Sacrifice as Christ sacrificed for you, for that woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. He didn't tell us that.
If you ask a man, would you rather be loved or respected? He would always most likely choose respect.
Yes.
Men want to be
But they've
respected.
already reduced you to a place in your mind that you are not worth anything, that you're not. So that
Exactly.
thing of you can just, why don't she just leave? Because that's what people
Terrible.
always say, why doesn't she just leave? She should just leave. She's the one staying there. It's not that easy.
Never allowed. You don't know
But do you know what?
until you walk in another person's
I work
shoes.
with women. God created men,
Mhm.
and then He created women. Women have always been in relationship.
Mhm.
We've never been
It
in
sounds right what I'm saying, but there are people that need to be in person.
in marriage.
Mhm.
That should be where you are safe.
You mean safety with yes.
Do you know what I mean? So that's one of the places where you should be completely safe within your marriage.
Yeah.
Men come in as they are.
Mhm.
They come in free
Mhm.
as they are. They're doing everything that they would do. There's no act. I'm using the word acting, and I don't. You know, there's no
Pretense.
There's
no
nothing.
Forming.
there's no forming at all. This is who I am. If I'm filthy, I'm filthy. If I'm like this,
Especially as Christians, what should our role be in this sort of situation where I guess what I'm saying is I'm always thinking about what should my Christian response be to even the person who is the abuser.
Only thing that you're supposed to do in this life, really, is be who you were created to be.
But how do you
So
know who you
you-
were created to be?
attacking or speaking to the wrong person. Speak to
Right.
God. Let God sort it out.
It takes
You know?
two. If one person is shouting and the other person is
Yes,
quiet,
yes.
eventually you will keep quiet. So like you told me to marry him, you said I should submit to him. He is your child. You know what I mean? And you say,
I think we go back to these dreams. I think sometimes women's dreams are suppressed. Restrictions are negative. And I guess even
Okay.
suppression of dreams.
so boundaries maybe. Is it boundaries? What's
I think I mean when you think of things that you wouldn't necessarily do as a married woman, and you say you put those boundaries on yourself, you create them yourself.